So let's talk about level assessment. The thing that even very experienced teachers may sometimes struggle with. I hope that some of these tips will help you, as they are mainly based on some of the CEFR descriptors. CEFR stands for Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is an international standard used to describe language proficiency. This picture provides an overview of how different scales of language proficiency levels relate to each other. Here are Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, British Council, Cambridge exams, and IELTS. By the way, there is also GSE scale developed by Pearson, that is Global Scale of English, which offers a more detailed and specific set of learning objectives and outcomes. CEFR has 6 band levels, while GSE provides a finer scale with points ranging from 10 to 90. GSE offers more specific learning objectives, including academic, professional, and general, while CEFR provides a general framework and is widely recognized and accepted internationally. By the way, GSE integrates also with Pearson's educational products and services. The updated CEFR descriptors are divided into several key groups that cover different aspects of language use. Communicative language activities and strategies, reception, production, interaction, and spoken and written discourse, and mediation, as well as communicative language competences, linguistic, sociocultural, pragmatic, etc. How to apply it practically in our practice? When do we usually have to assess the student's level of English? We mainly do it at the beginning of the studying course, when you receive a group of students or a student and you need to assess their present level to be able to tailor the course and the materials. It can also help when you try to assess the student's progress throughout the course, as well as setting certain objectives when leveling up in your student's English. Let's figure out what we can rely on when we assess the student's level during the very first classes, mainly in speaking, or when you conduct a short 15 to 20 minute speaking screening session with your student. So what descriptors to use? I propose we rely on and pay attention to the following: vocabulary range, grammatical accuracy, fluency, coherence, and phonological control, because these criteria are very easy to spot and assess when speaking to your student directly. So, let's figure out the peculiarities of the lexical linguistic competence, that is vocabulary range. By the way, here in my classification, I rely on the classification of levels from British Council, that is elementary, or let's say beginner, elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced, and proficiency. So elementary level students, they have very basic and very limited range of vocabulary, everyday expressions, and phrases. They can understand and use simple words related to personal information, daily routines, and some common objects. They are able to manage very short routine interactions, and they can describe some personal information and family information. These are common nouns, basic adjectives, simple verbs, and some simple everyday phrases. Pre-intermediate level students, they expand to cover a wider range of topics related to personal interests, work, and current events. They can already describe experiences, events, dreams, ambitions, and they can talk about reasons and plans. They understand and use more complex sentences and phrases, but in very familiar contexts. These are more specific nouns, these are comparatives and superlatives of adjectives, and some of phrasal verbs. Intermediate level students, they include a good range of vocabulary for most general topics and some specific fields, like hobbies and interests, work, travel, current events. They can discuss a variety of subjects fluently and spontaneously. They are able to explain some complex ideas and express opinions clearly and using a wider range of vocabulary. So this is a professional vocabulary related to their field, more phrasal verbs and abstract nouns, more precise adjectives, and some functional phrases related to everyday situations. Upper intermediate level students, they have broader and more varied vocabulary, allowing for like more fluent and spontaneous communication. So they use language flexibly, effectively for different purposes, for social, academic, and professional purposes. They can express nuanced ideas and opinions, and they already understand idiomatic expressions and colloquialisms. They use simple synonyms to avoid repetition, and they can easily paraphrase if needed. They can use terms related to their specific field of work, and they can already collocate the words. Advanced level students can easily express themselves without obvious searching for expressions or any avoidance strategies. They can select from several vocabulary options in almost all the situations, and they exploit synonyms of even less commonly encountered words. They have good command of common idiomatic expressions and colloquialisms, and they can understand and use appropriately the range of technical vocabulary. So these are advanced technical terms, these are complex idiomatic expressions and collocations, and some sophisticated adjectives and adverbs. As for grammatical accuracy, we will try to differentiate a bit between the grammatical control of a spoken speech and grammatical pattern scope related to each of the levels. That is, in other words, what grammar rules or phenomena the student of a certain level should or is supposed to be good at or familiar with. So elementary level students are supposed to operate by simple present tense, present continuous tense, simple past, some irregular verbs, basic question forms, basic negative forms, constructions like there is, there are, some basic prepositions, usually prepositions of place, subject pronouns, possessive adjectives like my, your, his, demonstrative pronouns, this, that, and some basic conjunctions like and, but, and because. Pre-intermediate level students, they are supposed to know modal verbs like can for ability and request. They are supposed to know present perfect simple for but of a very limited use with ever, never only. Comparatives and superlatives of adjectives, some adverbs of frequency like always, usually, sometimes. Past continuous tense, they are supposed to differentiate between countable and uncountable nouns and use some quantifiers accordingly, like some, any, much, many. Using prepositions of time, modals of obligation, only must and have to, and very limited use of gerunds after like, love, and hate. Intermediate level students, this range includes present perfect versus past simple, the usage of zero, first, and second conditionals, some relative clauses, passive voice, present and past simple with passive, reported speech patterns, statements, and reported questions, modals of deduction, might, may, could, must, prepositions after adjectives or dependent prepositions with some adjectives like good at, interested in, used to for past habits, present perfect continuous at the end of the level, and some future forms like differentiating between going to, will, and present continuous for future. Upper intermediate level students, they are supposed to know third and mixed conditionals, passive voice, all tenses in passive voice, reported speech, commands, advice, requests, and reported speech, modals of the past like should have, could have, would have, and so on, complex sentences with some subordinate conjunctions like although, despite, in spite of, future perfect and future continuous, phrasal verbs, inversion for emphasis, sometimes, not necessarily, and gerund and infinitive, most cases of usage and more complex usage. Advanced level students, they are supposed to know about subjunctive mood. They are supposed to use past perfect continuous, some advanced passive structures or distancing structures, like it is said that he is believed to. Inversion after negative adverbials and most cases of inversion, cleft sentences for emphasis, future perfect continuous, some advanced use of modals, advanced reported speech, and they are supposed to use ellipses and substitution in discourse. Now let's turn to exact performance of these grammar knowledge, that is grammatical accuracy control. Elementary level students, they have very limited control over very few simple grammatical structures and some sentence patterns that they have learned. Pre-intermediate level students, they use some simple structures correctly, but still systematically make some basic mistakes. But nevertheless, it is mainly clear what they are trying to express. Intermediate level students communicate with reasonable accuracy in familiar contexts. They have generally good control. Errors still occur, but it is clear what the student is trying to express. Upper intermediate level students, they have good grammatical control. They have occasional slips and non-systematic errors or minor flaws. And these errors are quite rare and can often be corrected in retrospect by the student themselves. Advanced level students, they consistently maintain a high degree of grammatical accuracy. Errors are quite rare and they are difficult to spot. Now to fluency, actually one of the major criterion to assess, because with the communicative approach to English teaching, this is what we often try to develop and help our students with mainly. So elementary level students can manage very short, pre-prepared utterances with much pausing to search for expressions and repair communication. Pre-intermediate level students can construct phrases on familiar topics and handle short exchanges. They can make themselves understood in short contributions, though false starts and pauses are very evident. Intermediate level students can express themselves with relative ease. They can keep going comprehensibly and effectively, even though pausing for grammatical and lexical planning in longer stretches is also evident. Upper intermediate level students can interact and communicate spontaneously, often showing remarkable fluency and ease of expression in even longer stretches of language. Although they can be hesitant as they search for patterns and expressions with very few noticeably long pauses. Advanced level students can express themselves fluently and spontaneously, almost effortlessly. Only a conceptually difficult subject can hinder their natural smooth flow of language. What other descriptors do we consider or may we consider? You may consider coherence and cohesion, though they are not of a prior importance, of course. So, when assessing this criteria, ask yourself, can a student, if we talk about elementary level student, the question is, can a student link only words and groups of words with basic connectors like and, then, and so on? For pre-intermediate level students, can a student link words and simple sentences with such linkers as and, but, because? Intermediate level students, can they link sentences in a story? Can they introduce a counter-argument, for example, with however? Upper intermediate level students, can they produce generally well-organized and coherent texts? Can they use variety of linking devices? And advanced level students can produce clear, organized, and well-structured longer stretches of speech. What about pronunciation and accent? Well, this is also a thing to pay attention to, though it's more of a screening students' needs to be able to tailor their further course. As at present, there is a strong tendency towards cultural authenticity, meaning that it's quite okay not to sound as a native speaker if you do not belong to this culture. But nevertheless, when we assess pronunciation, we imply mostly phonological control of the student's speech. So for elementary level, or on the elementary level, a student can reproduce correctly a limited range of sounds, as well as stress for simple, familiar words and phrases. Pre-intermediate level students, their pronunciation is generally clear enough to be understood, though there is strong influence from native language on stress, intonation, rhythm, and it may affect intelligibility, requiring some collaboration from interlocutor. Pronunciation of familiar words is very clear. Intermediate level students, their pronunciation is generally intelligible. Intonation and stress at both utterance and word levels do not prevent understanding of the message. Accent is usually influenced by other languages or students' native language. Upper intermediate level students can generally use appropriate intonation, place stress correctly, and articulate sounds clearly. Accent still tends to be influenced by other languages a student speaks, but has little or no effect on intelligibility. And advanced level students. Advanced level students can employ a full range of phonological features in the target language with sufficient control. Some features of accent retained from other languages may be noticeable, but they do not affect intelligibility. So, these are the main criteria you may easily use to evaluate your students' level of English. Of course, if you aim at more precise level screening, you may use some additional tools to assess their receptive skills, writing skills, and some more aspects described by CEFR scale. And don't forget to formulate your questions in such a way as to encourage them use a wider range of vocabulary, a wider range of grammar patterns. Thank you for your attention and enjoy your teaching.